You've been searching for something, maybe for years. You've tried changing jobs, changing habits, even changing the people around you. But still, there's this emptiness you can't explain. It feels like life is passing you by, like you're just existing instead of living. You're not broken, you're not hopeless, you've simply been looking everywhere but within. And that's what this video is about. Because when you finally find yourself, life truly begins. Stay with me until the end, because by the time this video is over, you'll see the first steps of that path. Jung said, life really does begin at 40. To live fully, we must peel back the layers, listen to the echo within, and finally truly begin to live. The journey within begins with a single courageous step into the unknown. We wander through fog, wearing masks shaped by the world, but beneath, a deeper self waits to be discovered. This path is a return to our true home, an act of radical self-love, choosing authenticity over performance. Here, life truly begins. Before the journey can begin, you must realize you are lost. The path you walk feels like a circle, a quiet prison of your own making. Others seem confident, but you wonder if they too are adrift. The first step out is to admit, I am lost. Only then does the true search begin. The lost self first meets crisis in the mirror. Not the one on the wall, but the mirror of the soul. You see a stranger, a mask fused to your skin, a mosaic of roles and expectations. The world sees polished pieces, but you feel the cracks. Healing begins with self-knowledge and self-acceptance. Within every lost soul, there is a kingdom of possibilities left unexplored. Unworn crowns gather dust in the silent halls of the heart, symbols of passions and talents set aside. The weight of these crowns is the ache of what might have been. To reclaim your kingdom is to honor your true self and finally to reign. At the core of the lost self is a hunger for meaning. Even with success and comfort, a deep emptiness can remain. External achievements decorate our lives, but don't nourish our souls. The soul craves meaning as the body craves food. When ignored, this hunger leaves us spiritually starved. We chase pleasure over work or grow cynical, trying to fill the void. Jung saw this as the neurosis of our time, a sense of aimlessness. To be lost is to ask, what's the point? And hear only silence. Finding yourself means discovering your own meaning, not one handed to you. It's forged through experience. What makes you come alive, what connects you to something greater. The hunger for meaning is the soul's compass, pointing the way out of the fog. By following it, we move from starving to sustained. Deep within, there's a silent scream, the voice of your true nature, trapped beneath conformity and fear. You feel it as tension, anxiety, or unexplained pain. Suppressed, this energy turns inward, fueling turmoil and dis-ease. We're taught to silence it, to fit in, to hold back our true emotions. But the pressure leaks out as irritability, depression, or mysterious ailments. These are echoes of the silent scream, a soul in distress. It's a lonely state, hard to explain, reinforcing isolation. The scream remains, haunting you with the ghost of your own vitality. Healing begins by giving this scream a voice, through introspection, art, or honest self-reflection. It's about dismantling the dam and letting your true self flow. The process is messy and frightening, but it's the path to liberation. To hear your silent scream is to begin healing. It's the first sound of a self being reborn. Amidst the ruins of your old self, your shadow emerges. It's the part of you you've always ignored, your repressed, denied self. Jung called this the shadow self, the unconscious, holding shame, fear, and wild instincts. We build bright masks for the world, casting darker shadows within. Facing the shadow is terrifying. We're taught to fear the dark inside us. Yet wholeness requires turning toward this darkness, not away. The shadow holds the key to why you feel lost. It contains the parts you exiled to be accepted. Rejecting them, you rejected your own life force. The invitation from the dark is a call to reclaim your power. It's a descent into your personal underworld, not to be consumed but to retrieve lost treasures. Only by facing your shadow can you become whole again. The journey into darkness is the journey home. Your shadow is the unseen companion shaping your life from the background. It's behind self-sabotage, irrational fears, and sudden moods. When you react strongly or judge others harshly, you're meeting your shadow, what Jung called projection. This companion isn't your enemy but a wounded part longing to be seen. Ignored, it grows louder, disrupting your life to get your attention. Addictions and compulsions are symptoms of this inner split. The shadow, when ignored, finds painful ways to be noticed. Finding yourself means starting a dialogue with this companion. Examine your projections and failures as messages from your deeper self. Turn on the light in the basement, listen, don't condemn. Integration begins with compassion for your own darkness. Confronting the shadow feels like an internal battle. It's wrestling with the parts of yourself you'd rather deny. Masks are ripped away, exposing your flaws and darker impulses. The ego resists, offering excuses and justifications. True growth requires brutal honesty and humility. The goal isn't to destroy the shadow, but to understand it. This struggle is a dance of integration, not annihilation. The shadow's power is raw life energy, distorted by suppression. Through this agony, you develop real strength, not perfection, but resilience. You learn you are both light and dark, complex and whole. The wrestling ends not with victory, but with acceptance. It's the start of peace within your soul. Sometimes the hardest part of finding yourself is admitting you feel lost. If you've been carrying that weight in silence, wondering who you are or what comes next, speaking to someone can change everything. Therapy isn't about being broken, it's about peeling back the layers and discovering what's been hidden inside you all along. Online therapy is offering you 20% off when you use the code THERAPY20. The link is waiting for you in the description. Take that first step. It could be the one that changes everything. The shadow, despite its darkness, holds immense treasures. Jung said, "In the shadow is the gold, our undeveloped potential and vitality." When we banish parts of ourselves, we often lose our greatest strengths. Our passion, creativity, and assertiveness are buried with what we suppress. To reclaim this gold, we must face what we've disowned. The work isn't just confronting faults, but recovering lost gifts. Sensitivity, anger, non-conformity. These may hide our deepest power. The shadow is the dragon guarding the treasure. Befriending it is an act of recovery, not destruction. In the darkness, we find the raw material for a new, whole self. Acknowledging your shadow is not a gentle exercise. It is painful, a loss of innocence and a confrontation with regret and guilt. Yet, this pain is the beginning of healing. By facing it, you honor your truth and open the gateway to a more authentic existence. If this video is already making you think about your own journey, make sure you subscribe. This channel is all about exploring the deepest parts of who we are together. As you wrestle with your shadow and acknowledge the pain of your own hidden nature, something remarkable begins to happen. The mask you have worn for so long starts to lose its power. It becomes heavy, cumbersome, and artificial. The effort required to maintain the perfect persona now seems exhausting and pointless. The mask, which once felt like a protective shield, now feels like a cage. Its smooth, polished surface no longer offers comfort. Instead, you begin to feel the truth of the raw, imperfect, and living face that lies beneath it, yearning to breathe. The mask does not fall away all at once, it begins to crack. The process is subtle at first. You might find yourself speaking a difficult truth you would have previously swallowed. You might choose to say no where you would have once said yes out of obligation. You might allow a moment of vulnerability to show with a trusted friend. Each of these small acts of authenticity is a hairline fracture in the facade. They are terrifying and liberating in equal measure. You're testing the world and yourself to see what happens when a little bit of your true self is revealed. With these cracks, light and air begin to reach the parts of you that have been in darkness for so long. This can be disorienting. You may feel exposed, uncertain of how to act without the familiar script of your persona. Your relationships may shift as some people, accustomed to the mask, may not know how to relate to the more complex person emerging from behind it. This is a period of social and emotional recalibration. You are learning to navigate the world not as a fixed character, but as an evolving, authentic being. It is a clumsy and beautiful dance of revelation. Ultimately, the mask begins to fall because you no longer need it in the same way. Your sense of self-worth is slowly shifting from being dependent on external approval to being rooted in your own self-acceptance. You have faced the worst of yourself in the shadow and survived. The judgment of others begins to lose its sting. You realize that the freedom to be yourself is worth more than the approval you gain from pretending to be someone else. The falling mask is a symbol of your liberation. It is the shedding of a skin that has become too small for the person you are becoming. What's the hardest part for you? Figuring out who you are or figuring out how to live once you find out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. The final and most crucial part of shadow work is not confrontation, but integration. It is really the art of weaving the dark threads of the shadow back into the tapestry of your whole self. Now, this is not about letting your negative impulses run wild. Rather, it's about finding a conscious and constructive home for the energy they contain. Integration means you no longer need to repress your anger because you have learned to transform it into healthy assertiveness and a passion for justice. You no longer fear your vulnerability because you have discovered it is the key to deep connection and empathy. This process, you could say, is a kind of inner alchemy. You take the raw, leaden material of the shadow, and through conscious awareness and intention, you transmute it into gold. The selfish part of you might be integrated as a healthy capacity for self-care and setting boundaries. The fearful part of you can become a source of prudence, caution, and careful planning. Even your laziness might be integrated as the ability to rest, to be, and to resist the frantic, meaningless busyness of the modern world. Every part of the shadow has a gift to offer once it is brought into the light of consciousness and given a proper job to do. Integration is a lifelong practice, not a one-time event. It requires constant self-observation and honesty. It's about catching yourself when you project your shadow onto others and consciously withdrawing that projection. It's about noticing when a shadow impulse arises and instead of acting on it blindly or repressing it, asking, what does this part of me need? What is the healthy expression of this energy? This turns your inner life from a battlefield into a council chamber, where all parts of you have a voice and a role to play in the governance of your life. When you begin to integrate your shadow, you become a more solid and substantial person. You're less likely to be thrown off balance by life's challenges because you are anchored in the full reality of your nature. You become more compassionate toward others because you recognize their shadows as reflections of your own. You're no longer living a life of dangerous purity, but one of messy, beautiful, and resilient wholeness. This integration is the true meaning of finding yourself. It is not finding a perfect self, but embracing the complete self, light and dark, in all its paradoxical glory. The journey through the shadow is the ultimate test of courage. It's not about slaying external dragons, but facing the one within your own heart. To be whole is to accept your contradictions, to honor your darkness, and to live authentically. This is the moment when life in its truest sense can finally begin. After the darkness, the first light does not arrive like a sunrise. It appears as a faint crack in your inner walls, a slender thread of gold in a vast grey. This fragile light is born from courage, a sign that hope is real. Now you rise, guided by the glow you found within. With the first light as your guide, you begin the sacred task of building a new self. This is not a construction based on external blueprints, but an act of inner architecture, using the honesty, courage, and compassion you've gathered. You are the architect, the mason, and the resident of this evolving home for your soul. As the fragmented pieces of your psyche come together, they do not form a perfectly smooth, unblemished surface. The cracks remain, but they are no longer signs of breakage. They are scars, and in these scars there is a profound and beautiful strength. This is the art of kintsugi, the Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with gold. The philosophy behind it is that the object is more beautiful for having been broken. The scars are not something to be hidden. They are part of the object's history, and they are highlighted with gold to be celebrated. Your soul is mended in the same way. The scars from your journey into the shadow become the most resilient parts of you. They are reminders of the battles you have fought and won, They are testaments to your ability to survive, to heal, and to integrate. Where you were once brittle, you are now flexible. Where you were once ashamed of your imperfections, you now see them as sources of character and depth. This new strength is not the rigid, defensive strength of the mask. It is a resilient, yielding strength that comes from having embraced your own fragility and found the gold within your wounds. This newfound strength changes how you meet the world. You no longer fear being found out because you have nothing to hide. You have already faced the worst parts of yourself and accepted them. The judgment of others loses its power when you have ceased to judge yourself so harshly. This allows you to engage with life with a new openness and a quiet confidence. You can be vulnerable without feeling weak. You can be wrong without feeling diminished. Your scars give you a gravitas, a substance that a life of protected perfection could never provide. You learn to honor your scars as a map of your journey. Each one tells a story of transformation. This one is from when you faced your anger. This one is from when you learned to accept your need for rest. This one is from when you allowed yourself to grieve a lost dream. They are the marks of a life deeply lived, not a life carefully avoided. In this, you find a deep and abiding peace. You are no longer striving for an impossible ideal of perfection. Instead, you're living the beautiful, imperfect, and powerful reality of your own healed and integrated self. Rebirth brings with it a new way of communicating. You begin to speak the language of authenticity. Before, your words were often a performance, carefully chosen to please, to protect, or to project a certain image. You spoke from the mask. Now you begin to speak from the soul. Your words become simpler, clearer, and more direct because they are aligned with your inner truth. This does not mean you become tactless or cruel. On the contrary, true authenticity is rooted in the compassion you have learned for yourself, which naturally extends to others. It is about speaking your truth with kindness. Learning this new language is like learning to walk again. At first it feels awkward and risky. You might stumble over your words, unsure of how much to reveal. You will test the waters, sharing a small, honest feeling here, a quiet, genuine thought there. You watch and see that the world does not end. In fact, you may find that people respond with a new level of respect and connection. They begin to see the real you, and the relationships that are meant to last will deepen. The ones based on the old facade may fall away, and you learn to see this as a necessary clearing of space. This language is not just spoken with the mouth, it is expressed through your entire being. Your actions begin to align with your values. Your choices reflect your true desires, not your conditioned obligations. You start to live a life that is coherent. The person you are on the inside and the person you present to the world begin to merge into one. This congruence is a source of immense power and peace. The energy you once spent on maintaining the inner-outer split is now freed up for living, for creating, and for simply being present in your own life. Speaking with authenticity also means you become a better listener. Because you are no longer preoccupied with your own performance, you can be more present with others. You learn to listen beneath their words, to hear the language of their own souls, which are often hidden behind their own masks. You develop a new capacity for empathy, born from the deep, intimate knowledge of your own inner landscape. Your conversations become less about exchanging information and more about sharing a genuine human connection. You are no longer just talking, you are communicating from the heart. One of the greatest gifts of this rebirth is, the discovery of an inner compass. Before finding yourself, you navigated life using external maps, the opinions of others, the rules of society, the dogmas of your upbringing. You were, constantly looking outside for direction, for validation, for permission. Now you discover that the ultimate authority on how you should live your life actually resides within you. This is your intuition, your inner knowing, the voice of your integrated self. It is a quiet, steady sense of direction that is independent of the world's noise. This inner compass does not shout, it whispers. It communicates not in logical arguments, but in feelings, in gut sensations, in a subtle sense of rightness or wrongness. Learning to trust it is a practice. It requires you to create moments of silence in your life, to turn down the volume of the external world so you can hear the faint signal from within. It means paying attention to the quiet yes that feels expansive and light, and the quiet no that feels constricting and heavy. This compass does not promise a life free of challenges, but it ensures that the challenges you face are the ones that are right for your soul's journey. Following this compass often requires you to go against the grain. It may lead you down paths that others do not understand. It may ask you to leave behind situations, relationships, or careers that look good on paper but feel wrong in your soul. This is where the courage you have cultivated becomes essential. The courage to trust yourself above all others. The courage to believe that your inner knowing is a more reliable guide than the collective wisdom of the crowd. Every time you heed its guidance, your trust in it grows stronger and its signal becomes clearer. This is the ultimate sovereignty. You are no longer a subject in someone else's kingdom, following their decrees. You are the ruler of your own life, guided by your own internal constitution. This creates a profound sense of stability and self-reliance. The winds of external opinion can blow, and the tides of fortune can change, but you remain anchored by your connection to your own deep wisdom. You have found your true north, and it is not a point on a map. It is the very center of your own being. The process of finding yourself is, in its essence, a quiet revolution. It's not a loud, violent overthrow of some external power. Instead, it's the silent, internal overthrow of the tyranny of the ego, of fear and of conformity. This revolution doesn't happen out in the streets. It happens in the deepest chambers of your own heart. It's a radical act of reclaiming your own consciousness, of declaring your independence from the unexamined beliefs and conditioning that have governed your life for so very long. It's the most personal, and therefore the most powerful form of rebellion. This revolution changes, well, everything, yet from the outside, it might not look all that dramatic. You may still live in the same house, work at the same job, and have the same friends. But your relationship to all these things is transformed. You're no longer a passive participant, just carried along by the currents of life. You become an active, conscious agent, making deliberate choices that are aligned with your authentic self. You bring a new quality of presence and intention to every aspect of your existence. You are living the same life, but you are no longer the same person living it. This quiet revolution is interestingly contagious, but not through preaching or proselytizing. It spreads through your very presence. People feel the calm, the solidity, and the authenticity that you now embody. Your quiet courage to be yourself gives them unspoken permission to be themselves. Your ability to embrace your own imperfections helps them to be more compassionate with their own. By healing yourself, you become a source of healing for those around you. You are, quite simply, a living testament to the possibility of transformation, a quiet beacon of hope in a world that often encourages us to remain asleep. This is the profound impact of the inner journey. It's a revolution that begins with one person and ripples outward. It's the understanding that, honestly, the only way to truly change the world is to begin with the world inside yourself. By finding yourself, you're not retreating from life, you're preparing to engage with it on a much deeper, more meaningful level. You have ceased to be a part of the problem, the collective unconsciousness, and have become a part of the solution, one quiet, authentic soul at a time. Life truly begins when you find yourself. All that came before was preparation. Now you step from the fog onto a clear path, whole and ready. The journey is not over, but you walk it as your true self. This is the real beginning, your invitation to live authentically. The dawning of inner peace is not a grand finale, but a quiet, gentle awakening. It's the calm that settles when the war within ends, and you embrace your whole self. This peace is resilient, built on self-acceptance, and radiates quietly from within. You discover the sanctuary you sought was always inside you. This is the true beginning. To find yourself is not to arrive at a final, static destination. It's about reaching a vantage point from which you see a new, unfolding horizon. The journey inward gives you the tools and courage to embark on a life of purpose and authentic engagement. You become the captain of your own vessel, charting a course guided by your inner knowing. In doing so, you become a beacon of potential, living from an open, unfolding, and authentic question. If this video spoke to you, share it with someone who might need to hear these words too, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps more people find these ideas. And if you're ready to go deeper, the therapy link with 20% off is waiting for you in the description. It might be the step that helps you truly begin.